There's a silence that settles between couples after 60, not because the love is gone, but because the body begins to betray the mind. I once spoke with a man, a retired teacher, 67 years old, who quietly confessed, "I thought this part of me was finished, like I'd crossed a line and couldn't go back." He wasn't bitter, just tired. Tired of pretending he didn't notice the changes. Tired of feeling less like the man he used to be. That silence, it stretches across bedrooms, dinner tables, even years. For some men, it begins with softness, not just in the body, but in the spirit. You wake up one morning and realize your erections are weaker, then inconsistent, then absent. And somewhere in that slow fade, you lose a part of yourself. Not your worth, not your dignity, but something harder to name, a sense of being. I've been there for those moments, not as a patient, but as a doctor, a surgeon, a man who spent over 40 years in the trenches of men's health, listening more than prescribing. I'm Dr. Thomas Leighton, and if you're feeling that slow unraveling of your manhood, I want you to know you are not alone, and more importantly, you are not broken. Because the truth is, this isn't just about age. It's about blood, flowing freely and fully. Without it, nothing else matters. With it, nearly everything improves. If this message speaks to you, type 1. If you're unsure, type 0. Either way, thank you for listening. Now, let's take a walk, not into the supplement aisle, not into another advertisement, but into something much older, something quieter, your body's natural rhythm. At the heart of every firm, consistent erection isn't testosterone or desire. It's blood. Blood that moves with purpose, pressure, and precision. But by the time a man reaches 60, that river begins to slow. Here's what most men don't realize. Erections are, first and foremost, a blood flow event. Not just mental, not just hormonal, physical. A surge of blood into soft tissue, fast enough and full enough to keep it there. And that depends entirely on the health of your arteries, especially the tiny, narrow ones in the pelvis. Now here's the hard truth. Those arteries, by your 60s, they've been under attack for decades. From fried food, stress, sugar, from the nights you skipped sleep and the years you sat too long. You didn't mean to hurt yourself. You were surviving, raising families, working long hours, pushing through. But plaque doesn't care about intentions. It builds slowly, quietly. First you notice it's harder to stay hard. Then it takes longer to get there. Then one day, it doesn't happen at all. And most men, they shrug, sigh, and say, "I guess this is just part of getting older." But it's not. I've seen too many men turn things around to ever believe that. Take that teacher I mentioned. His name doesn't matter. What matters is that after changing a few things, especially what he ate, he regained something he thought he'd lost forever. His firmness, his energy, his confidence, and that quiet look in his eyes that said, "I'm back." Because blood flow is life, not just for your heart, but for your bedroom, your identity, your joy. And here's the good news. You don't need a new pill, you need the right plate. Let's start there. The first food I recommend surprises most men because they've spent years avoiding it. Red meat, or more specifically, clean, grass-fed beef. Now, before you raise your eyebrows, hear me out. I've had dozens of men sit across from me and say, "Doc, I cut out red meat for my heart, but I feel tired. My drive is gone. My muscles are weaker. I don't feel like myself anymore." That's because they were avoiding the wrong thing. The problem isn't the beef, it's the quality. Grass-fed beef, not grain-fed, not processed, not factory-raised, is rich in zinc. And zinc is what your body uses to make testosterone, the fuel for energy, focus, libido, and erection quality. It also contains iron, which helps your blood carry oxygen and protein your muscles actually use. I had a man in his early 70s who'd gone vegan for his heart, and within a year, his erections faded, his voice weakened, and he walked slower. We reintroduced grass-fed beef just twice a week, added a slice of raw cheese, a good source of vitamin K2, which helps keep arteries flexible. Within a month, his morning erections came back. But that wasn't even the most powerful change. He looked me in the eye and said, "Doc, I feel like I can look my wife in the eye again." And that That's the moment that matters. Because it's not about performance. It's about presence and the ability to show up fully as a man. Now, if beef supports your hormones, we need something to open your vessels. Something natural, green, and yes, overlooked. It's not kale. It's not spinach. It's arugula. That peppery little leaf most men walk right past in the grocery aisle. It holds one of nature's best-kept secrets, plant-based nitrates. Your body takes those and turns them into nitric oxide, a molecule that relaxes and opens your blood vessels. The more nitric oxide, the more blood can flow, not just to your brain or muscles, but to your penis. I remember a Navy vet strong man, quiet, told me he hadn't had a morning erection in over 5 years. We didn't talk pills, we talked salad. 1 cup of arugula a day, olive oil, lemon juice, a pinch of sea salt. 2 weeks later, he called me, and for the first time in years, he laughed. "Doc, my wife thinks I'm 20 years younger." Sometimes, change isn't loud. Sometimes, it's leafy. Arugula works fast, naturally, and without side effects. But don't just take my word for it. Try it. 1 handful at lunch. Your body will tell you what it thinks. Still with me? Then let's keep going. Because even with beef for hormones and arugula for blood flow, something's still missing: the raw minerals your body loses slowly with age. And they're found in something so small, most men toss it in the trash. Let's talk about that next. Pumpkin seeds. I know, they don't look like much. Maybe you remember them from Halloween, roasted, salted, scraped off a baking sheet. But inside those tiny seeds is something remarkable. A blend of minerals that speaks directly to the needs of older men. Magnesium, zinc, selenium. Magnesium in particular is the quiet hero here. It helps your blood vessels relax and expand, easing circulation, especially where it matters most. Without it, your body struggles. Your heart works harder. Your erections weaken. And worst of all, you may feel tired all the time, even after sleep. And it's a deficiency I see constantly in older men. Zinc, as we touched on earlier, supports testosterone. Without enough zinc, your hormones start slipping, and not in a way that's easy to feel at first. It creeps in. Less morning energy, less interest, more doubt. Zinc helps restore that edge gently, but powerfully. Then there's selenium. Not as well known, but vital for protecting your prostate and keeping your reproductive system running smoothly. I had a patient, 72 years old, grandfather of 6, said he hadn't had a solid erection in over a year. And what hurt more than the loss of intimacy was the loss of confidence. "I just don't feel like me anymore," he whispered. His blood work showed low magnesium and low zinc. We didn't rush for prescriptions. We went to the pantry. A 1/4 cup of raw, unsalted pumpkin seeds. Every morning, mixed into oatmeal, eaten by the handful in the afternoon. 4 weeks later, he walked into my office. Same man, different posture, straighter spine, lighter step, and a grin that told me everything I needed to know. "Doc," he said, "I think I'm back." That's the quiet strength of pumpkin seeds. Not flashy, not expensive, just consistent. When you bring these foods together, the beef for strength, the arugula for flow, and the seeds for balance, you start building an internal environment where blood can move, hormones can rise, and erections can return naturally. But there's still one missing piece. And this one doesn't come from your plate, it comes from the sky. Vitamin D3, sometimes called the sunshine vitamin. But I like to call it the confidence nutrient, because without it, even the best diet can fall short. Your body makes vitamin D3 when sunlight hits your skin. But as we age, 2 things happen. We spend more time indoors, and our skin becomes less efficient at converting sunlight into usable vitamin D. The result? A quiet deficiency that affects everything from mood and immunity to blood pressure and, yes, erections. Because vitamin D3 supports testosterone, it helps regulate nitric oxide, and it reduces inflammation that might otherwise restrict blood flow. And yet, most older men have no idea they're running on empty. One of my patients, 65, recently widowed, had been doing everything right. Eating better, walking every morning, taking herbs, but nothing seemed to change. He was discouraged, worn down. and quietly ashamed. We tested his vitamin D levels. They were dangerously low. I had him begin a simple supplement, 5,000 IU of vitamin D3 each day, taken with his largest meal. 3 weeks later, he called me in tears. Not because of a single breakthrough, but because of a subtle shift. More clarity, more energy, a quiet return of nighttime erections he hadn't experienced in years. It was like a light came back on, he said. And that's how I think of vitamin D3. A switch, one that reactivates everything else, your food, your hormones, your hope. Now, if you live in a place with strong sunlight, try stepping outside for 15 to 20 minutes each day, no sunscreen if possible. Let the sun touch your arms, your face. If that's not possible due to weather or skin sensitivity, a high-quality supplement is a simple, effective tool. But remember, no single nutrient does it all. The real magic is how they work together. That's why I don't want to just give you theory. I want to give you a meal. A real meal you can make tonight. Picture a plate. Start with 6 to 8 ounces of grass-fed beef, gently cooked, still tender. Lay a slice of raw cheese on top. It'll melt slightly, adding vitamin K2 and a comforting richness. Next to that, a salad built on fresh arugula. Not iceberg, not romaine. Arugula. Drizzle olive oil. Squeeze fresh lemon. If you like, sprinkle in garlic or crushed walnuts. Both support heart and blood vessel health. Then, reach for a small handful of raw pumpkin seeds. Add them to the salad, or just keep them in a bowl by your chair. They're not just a snack, they're therapy. This simple plate gives you protein for strength, minerals for balance, and natural plant compounds to open your vessels and restore the kind of blood flow that makes all the difference. I've had men eat this meal twice a week and email me with disbelief. Doc, it's only been 10 days, but I swear something's happening. And it's not just physical, it's emotional. There's a confidence that returns when your body responds the way it used to. A kind of peace. And, yes, pride. Because let's face it, this isn't about vanity. It's about intimacy, presence, the ability to stand fully in your manhood and say, I'm still here. And when you pair that meal with 15 minutes of sunlight or a simple vitamin D3 supplement, you close the loop. You give your body every possible advantage to feel alive again. But even with all this knowledge, there's one last thing I want to talk about, something deeper. A shift in the way you see yourself, your age, and your worth. Let's talk about that next. If you've followed me this far, thank you. Because this next part isn't about food, or hormones, or even blood flow. It's about how you see yourself when the lights are off and the mirror's quiet. And I want to leave you with a truth that's taken me decades to fully understand, both as a doctor and as a man. You are not done. Not just physically, but in every way that matters. I've listened to men in their 60s, 70s, even into their 80s retired engineers, war veterans, truck drivers, grandfathers, widowers, men who had seen life from every angle, and they all asked me the same thing. Sometimes with words, sometimes without. Is this it? Is this where I fade? Where my desire dims and my strength disappears? What they were really asking was, am I still a man? Still capable? Still wanted? Still strong enough to be touched and to touch back? And my answer every single time has been yes. Not because of sentimentality, not because of false hope, but because I've seen it. With my own eyes. Men who thought they were finished, who felt defeated, even ashamed. Men who hadn't felt anything stir down below in years. And then something shifted. Sometimes it started with food. Sometimes it started with a walk. Sometimes with a decision. A decision to stop believing the lie that aging means surrender. The foods we've talked about, they're not magic. They're reminders. They tell your body, I still care. I'm still in the game. I still want to feel. And when your body hears that, it listens. In its own time, in its own way, quietly, but surely. We've covered a lot, haven't we? How grass-fed beef can help restore testosterone and bring back that quiet fire inside. How arugula, overlooked and uncelebrated, can open your blood vessels like rain opens dry soil. How pumpkin seeds, small as they are, deliver the minerals your blood and brain have been starving for, and how vitamin D3, that gift from the sun, switches on the circuitry of your desire, your energy, and your sense of being. But this isn't just nutrition. It's restoration. This is a path back to yourself. Because I've seen what happens when a man starts waking up with energy, with morning erections, with a sense of rhythm again. He doesn't just stand taller. He speaks differently. His eyes stop scanning the floor. His shoulders relax. He reaches for his partner's hand without thinking. And more than that, he begins to believe again. Belief, you see, is the last thing to return. But when it does, it brings everything else with it. You're not chasing youth. You're not trying to be 25 again. That ship has sailed, and thank God for that. You're deeper now, quieter, wiser. But that doesn't mean your fire has gone out. It means you need to feed it differently. With nourishment. With movement. With sunlight. With honesty. That's how the second prime begins. Not with a loud gesture, but with a quiet choice. Like choosing one meal grass-fed beef, fresh arugula, raw pumpkin seeds, olive oil, lemon made with care. Or stepping into the morning light for 10 minutes, letting your skin remember what warmth feels like. Or maybe, just maybe, sitting with your partner and saying, "I'd like to feel closer again. I want to try." I've known men who were alone for years, who thought that part of their life was gone. Then something changed. A new relationship, a reconnection with an old friend. A spark, unexpected, but not unwelcome. It's never too late. You're not too far gone. Your body still wants to serve you. And when you support it, not force it, not shame it, just support it, you'll be amazed what it gives back. One man told me, "Doc, I don't just feel stronger. I feel softer in a good way. I'm not so angry. I'm not so scared." That's the power of healing. Because when your body works again, your heart has room to breathe. And when your heart breathes, intimacy becomes possible again. Not just sex, but connection, real closeness. I know these are sensitive topics. And I know many men suffer in silence. That's why I speak gently. That's why I don't make promises I can't keep. I just share what I've seen. If something in this message touched you, even just a sentence, please don't let it stay with you alone. Share it, quietly, as it was shared with you. Maybe with a brother, a friend, someone sitting across from you who seems a little more tired than usual. And if you'd like to hear more thoughts like this, more stories, more guidance, consider subscribing. Not for numbers, not for fame. Just so you don't miss the next time we sit like this, you and me, and talk honestly about the body, the years, and what's still possible. If you'd like to support this message in a small way, you can make a donation through the link in the description. It helps me reach more men who deserve to feel strong again. But whether you give, subscribe, or simply carry this message with you quietly, know this: you are not done. You are not broken. You are still a man. And somewhere in you, maybe buried, maybe bruised, is a fire that still burns. Let's help it burn brighter. I'll be right here, walking beside you, until the very end.